As you know, the ACLJ has been fighting for the right to have your Bible club or a Christian club in the public schools for, at this point, since our inception, really. So you're talking about 35 plus years the ACLJ has been fighting for this. And by the way, we won this case decades ago at the Supreme Court of the United States, but it doesn't seem to stop school boards. It doesn't seem to stop administrations, faculty from not understanding what the Supreme Court has ruled, which is, of course, that you can have a Christian club. And by the way, not only can you have a Christian club or a Bible club, it can't be any different with no other rules, no other special treatment, no other put them in a corner somewhere. They can't meet during times. None of that can happen. There's equal protection for a Christian club as well as there could be for a math club or whatever it may be. However, Will, once again, that is not what's happening.
That's right. And this is out of New York. It's at a public high school where our client just wanted to have a Christian club, a Bible club, called the Jesus Club.
Yeah.
And went through all the right processes, was made to jump through so many hoops to get to even apply. She did all the right things, had the faculty advisor, and then they said, the person who you were supposed to present this to has now left, so you got to start from scratch, redo everything. Made her jump through all these hoops. She presented it, and then she was told that being the Jesus Club wasn't inclusive enough to other faiths, so therefore maybe you should just call it the Faith Club.
Like a world religion club. You couldn't have specifically a Christian club.
Then also she was told that the club could not meet at the same time as other clubs, which violates the equal access portions of the Constitution and the law of the United States, as well as the First Amendment and all these things. But I wanted to play this too because our clients, you have to remember how courageous they are and how brave they are, especially if you're a high school student that just wants to share your faith. And I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, I would like to just take a minute here because I know that this is sensitive. When you start putting students on camera and all of that, usually you don't see that on this show. We are very protective of our clients, but this client specifically wanted to tell their story. And when that happens and we are able to share it, the parents are on board and the kids are on board, the students are on board, we go, okay, we'll share your story. And I think that that's important when it happens. Know that if you support the work of the ACLJ and you want to be one of these clients, you don't always have to be one of the ones that show up on air. Very rarely, actually, do you see the students show up on air because we are very protective of them. So if you come in and say, hey, my kid is being this, we know they don't want to get bullied. There's a lot of problems that could go on in public schools, in private schools. They don't want a lot of that attention. They a lot of times just want it handled. They want to be having their Bible club. But you know what? As Will said, there are some students and parents that are very courageous and are willing to tell their story and want to tell their story on camera. They want to be a face for what's going on in terms of the way Christians are being treated in the public school system. So I do want to present to you this video of our client. Take a look.
Hello, my name is Kennedy Canales, and I'm going to be talking about a situation that happened at Plattsburgh Senior High School on September 30th. I'd been trying to start a Jesus Club. I did all the things you needed to do to start a club, like we have officers, we have a student administrator, and times set in place, like we follow the rules, basically. I went to try and see how it's going, and I was told all I needed to do was make a new PowerPoint to present to the school board because the administrator who was there before ended up moving. So I found a new administrator and a new officer because one of the officers had moved as well. And I just had to make a new PowerPoint, send it to my principal, and then he would present it to the school board. I'm told that we are not able to operate a club under the name Jesus Club because it isn't inclusive. It has to be inclusive of all religions, so they suggested maybe Faith Club or something along the lines of that. If you're a Christian, that goes out the window. That equality that is claimed to be there goes out the window, which is not supposed to be.
That was actually a condensed version of about a 5-minute video that she had posted on social media and was calling people to action. Actually, this is before even the ACLJ was able to get involved with this, that she had the courage to call people in her community to action, to say, listen, we need to speak out about this. This isn't okay. I do have rights. I can have a Jesus Club if people can have other clubs. And how we know,
settled law.
We know even that there was discrimination against this individual based off of the content of the club was that another club that was a secular club presented on the same day and just a few days later was granted permission to operate the club at the school. So it is clear viewpoint discrimination, First Amendment violations, violations of the Equal Access Act, all of the Supreme Court precedent that the ACLJ has fought and won for. It's right here. But it's once again, we saw that victory in Hawaii that we talked about yesterday. It's another instance where we can't stop fighting.
You have to fight. And the ACLJ team, remember, she comes to the ACLJ. We're not charging them. That's only because you are able to donate and support. The ACLJ does this at no cost to our clients. That is incredible. And that's only because people like you support. And when you support during these special months like our Freedom Drive, that's when your donation is doubled. It is really important to give during these special months of the year when we can double our impact. Right now, you heard about that. That was from the person themselves, the client themselves, telling you what they were doing. And now the ACLJ not only has to remind, and sometimes that's it. Sometimes we get to scare them off and say, look, you know what? You don't know the Supreme Court law. Here it is. And sometimes they come back and they apologize and they try to make good and make it better and say, this is a faculty that overstepped their bounds. Sometimes they don't, though. And sometimes they push it forward. And just because it's settled law, just because Supreme Court, doesn't mean there won't be a time where it could quickly turn around and you have another one of these situations at hand where you go take another case to Supreme Court, you have a court that is not as much in your favor. And I'm not talking about right now, but at some point in the future, and this all gets reversed. So we have to continue fighting. We got to continue fighting for the free speech and the freedom of religion for our students. And that is only because people like you help